The Commentary Booth is a show for media lovers by media lovers just like you. If you want to support the show, go to jamieappsmedia.com. Welcome to the Commentary Booth, the ultimate weekly entertainment recap and review show. My name is Jamie Apps, and each week I'll be joined by a rotating cast of co-hosts to run you through the entertainment media we've consumed during the week. Along the way, we'll provide you with insightful commentary and reviews. Today I'm joined by Jacqui Piñol, who is a star of Amazon Prime's Bosh and has also most recently been one of the stars of Marvel's SpiderMan Miles Morales. How are you, Jacqui?
I'm good, thank you.
You've been acting sort of the majority of your life. At what point did you realize it was a career path that you wanted to pursue?
You know, it was, I think from the very beginning, even if I was so green and just had big dreams and high hopes and no connections, from the time that I was in high school, I just knew I wanted to do it. I think my drive came from, to be honest, high school productions. Elementary school was my first play that I was in Mary Poppins. And I just felt a drive to do it. It was something that spoke to me, that gave me an outlet maybe to express myself, where maybe I just didn't have that at home as much, or I just felt free. Like no boundaries, like I could explore anything and be anyone or learn anything. So I was always going to do it, whether I was successful at it or not.
Okay. Yep. Do you think living in LA from sort of 2 years old influenced that passion at all?
I think so, because from a very young age, I went to school with kids who became, very big stars, became very popular. Some were friends of mine. Some I knew just in passing in school. And then one day they just broke and became these, huge names. And that gave me more drive. I was never the type, or I never have been the type to be like, oh man, just jealous or envied. I don't really feel that. I feel more inspired and have more drive when someone that I know or have known makes it. You're just like, oh my gosh, if they could do it, so could I. Like, you just find ways to keep going.
Yeah, it feels more attainable when someone close to you can do it.
Yeah, of course. Yes, exactly.
Were your parents supportive from the beginning?
They were. My parents didn't, they're Latin American. English is their second language. And even though they'd lived in New York many years before I was born, they still were just very simple, everyday working folks. So they weren't in entertainment industry at all. But they liked the fact that I pursued it. So they always tried to at least help me pay for my first headshots and drive me to auditions after school. So it was nice that I never felt like anything got in the way. I just had to keep going and find the way.
Yeah, it sounds like they were supportive and they just sort of gave you that hard-working attitude of just keep pushing.
Yes. If I wanted, I always took acting classes, dance lessons. I played the violin. You're always trying to find when you're young, like, what am I really good at, or what sticks, what's good, So I wanted to be, if anything, a more well-rounded actor. You want to learn other things. You want to be into sports. And I just wanted to learn skills, because I saw that other actors, when they brought something else to the table, it's their opportunity for, booking a film or, so I feel like that made me want to travel the world more, learn other languages. I always just kind of wanted to live a full life while pursuing acting. I didn't want to just act, because that felt empty to me. I needed to know that I could bring stuff to the table as an actor.
Yep. And you speak 4 languages, is that right?
I dabbled in a 5th one, which is Mandarin Chinese. But unless I'm actively in class and doing the homework and listening to the lessons when I come home, it just doesn't stick as much. Mandarin really is tonal, so I have to really pay attention and practice it. The other ones are all Romance languages, so it's a lot easier to have them in my head. And or if I hear them, everything just kind of comes out. And speak it.
And your first major TV role saw you alongside Ricky Martin. How did that feel?
Oh man, that was surreal to me because, look, being Latin American, I grew up loving Menudo, which was the boy band that he was in, much to the likes of Backstreet Boys or New Kids on the Block for, American kids. So when I walked on set of General Hospital, I was going to play his younger sister. I was beside myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do when I meet him? And here he walks into the makeup room. I was getting makeup. He walked in and he was so kind and friendly. And he just introduced himself like he was like, my neighbor. He's like, hey, I'm Ricky. What's up? What's your name? And I'm just like, hi. I'm all trying to be cool, calm, and collected. But there he was, so sweet, and just kind of took me under his wing during the whole rehearsal process and doing our scenes, which some got to be quite emotional. So what a wonderful experience it was to meet him. He's lovely. He's just so grounded, and he was already so famous. And yet he was just the kind that treats everyone the same, and he doesn't consider himself more special or important than anyone else. So that was a nice introduction to being on camera for me.
I imagine sort of getting that first meeting out of the way before you had to step on set made it a lot easier as well.
Yeah, because we got to know a little bit, each other. He sat in makeup. I was in makeup. He kind of broke the ice. He was so friendly. And then it just felt like he really could be like my big brother. So I felt that established our relationship in a much better way for the soap opera.
And your latest TV role sees you playing Detective Julie Espinoza for Amazon's Bosh. Yes. How are you finding that role?
It's been very, very so different, very serious kind of, although the show, adds levity to some situations and some dialogue between characters. It was a real learning experience. They bring on real robbery homicide detectives to set, and we learn the do's and don'ts, even, proper attire, where we place our robbery homicide pin, learning how to put on your holster and the weapons and your badges. All that stuff was new to me. So I really enjoyed not just playing the role, but learning what it takes to be a real detective, because it's somebody's got to go out there and do the real thing. So we're just trying to portray that in the most honest and truthful way, while bringing entertainment to your TV screens. So it's been quite a journey. I got to play in 4 seasons of the series. So I'm very grateful to learn also from these actors that are quite amazing to work with.
Do you feel that show is sort of slightly underrated or underappreciated?
I think so, because it's so good. And once people catch on to it, or if somebody starts it, even if they just started season 1, they can't stop. They're going to go all the way through season 6. They're waiting for season 7. So I feel like it's not just another cop show. It really is. It's gritty. It's very real. And I think it shoots a lot like a film. So there's a rawness to it that I think brings audiences in once they give themselves a chance to see it, that you can't step away from. And Titus, who plays Bosh, he's just so real and so likable. Sometimes you have characters that are these hard-ass cops or this or that, but if they have this humanity to them, this part of them that you're drawn in by that, he has that, and I love that's even the impression that I got as a viewer before I joined the cast.
Yeah, like here in Australia with Amazon Prime being so new, I feel like it's a lot of people are discovering these shows very recently, and it's good to have there's multiple seasons to binge watch straight away.
Yes, that's the other thing. It's nice to have them, because the ones that air weekly, you're like, cliffhanger, and you just have to wait. It's now because we're so spoiled, though. Because before, that's how it used to be. You wait every week. That's what you do. Yeah. We're just spoiled now, I think.
I love the binge watching.
Oh, yeah.
I struggle hard. Like even The Boys on Amazon Prime, when it went to weekly, that was so hard to adjust back to.
Because then it's like a piece of you. You're like, now what do I do? What am I going to do? Yeah. It's so funny. What part of Australia are you in?
Just south of Sydney, about an hour south of Sydney.
Oh, okay. I was out there, on a job 2.5 months, years ago. Gosh, I loved it. I
Yeah.
love being out there. Working out there was like, can't they just leave me here? I just wanted that job to go on forever.
Yeah, it's a shame we
Lovely.
can't sort of travel at the moment.
Oh, I know. I know. Where
How are you
everybody's
finding COVID and everything over there?
I it's okay. There's a lot of mixed feelings because, we stay very safe. We know we have to wear our masks and social distance. It's sort of a no-brainer. But we do see the resistance in other either areas of our state or by communities. So you just wonder why we all can't be on the same page in order to overcome this quicker. It's difficult to, and then you have to wonder, what are other parts of the world doing? What are other states doing? Why are they doing better or worse than us? And it brings up a lot of emotion. I think in order to deal day to day, we have to a little bit just live in our bubble a little so that we're able to cope with getting through the day and stay safe.
I imagine it's impacted your work quite significantly.
It did. It did from March through, I would say, up to September, October. There was nothing, when there were better guidelines about how people could safely go back to work, studios started to implement that. And it felt like, okay, that's why production has picked up so much. And there is a lot more work opportunity right now. But when it's March and April and you're thinking you don't know when it's going to open up, it was a scary time to really not know when anyone or anything was opening up. It was strange to see Los Angeles. You go into Hollywood, you drive near, the touristy areas where there's always people. You never not see people, kind of like New York Times Square. My sister lives in New York and she would show me videos and be like, look, there is nobody on the streets. It was just surreal. It's like a sci-fi movie almost.
And yeah, you sort of, during that time, you obviously had Spider-Man sort of on the back burner about to come out. Was that exciting in that time?
Yes. We were actually able to do work remotely with that because we weren't done with a lot of the voice capturing. So a lot of the voiceover work hadn't been done. And luckily, there were ways to, tie in remotely to be able to record safely and still have the director and producers and everybody involved in your recording. So we did some of that during those months. And I knew that, release day was coming. But even then, all of us were like, we hope, because just we didn't know, are things going to continue to be back to normal? Will it be okay to release a game? There were all these questions. So I just sort of sat on the sidelines and crossed my fingers that everything would go well and we would see the game. And so we did. Yay.
Yeah, and you've also worked on a few other games as well. Uncharted 3, Quantum Break, obviously Spider-Man now. How did you get involved in that world?
It really came from audition opportunities. I just auditioned for so many projects. And I've been with my same voiceover agent now since I was, in high school. I mean, they're wonderful. I really I love working with the same people. We have a relationship. They know me and they know how far I can stretch, so I feel like they throw things at me and they're like, do you want to try this? Do you want to try this? And I really look at the roles. I don't try out for everything that comes my way because some things I know I'm just really not right for, or I just can't be genuine enough to bring that character to life. But when these were in front of me, the script, it just jumped out at me, and the auditions are a lot like film auditions because it's going to be motion capture and they're going to need you to be, actively involved in not just the voice, but the acting, the imagination, working on a big stage. So I think that's what helped me is that it isn't just for voice actors as a whole. So when you have the experience working on film and TV, you walk into one of these auditions and it is like one of those auditions.
Yeah, obviously there are those differences a little bit where you can do those stuff from home at the same time, but I guess a lot of it is the initial start. You have to go in and do that motion capture. How do you find that?
Yeah, it's challenging. It's definitely challenging. I find it challenging because you're in a set with everything that you see is not really there. Yep. It's all imagination. All of us have to jump on board and have the same vivid imagination. We interact with each other, and we also have really heavy equipment from our head in front of our face on our bodies. and we're still, sometimes running and jumping and reacting and hugging and trying to do all this stuff that's seems very unnatural, but we have to bring it to life in the most natural and seamless way as possible, because then that's when, animation will take it and do your motion capture on a screen and add the vividness of the character and how you look. And each part is done separately. So it feels fragmented, to do, let's do voice, let's do motion capture, let's do the physicality, let's do the stunts. So I do find it more challenging than just walking into a film set or a TV set. And I welcome the challenge, but there are days when you're like, did they connect? Am I doing the same thing? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's always a worry. Is this voice going to match up with the action I did 3 or 4 months ago?
Right. And I really owe it to the director, Chris Salter, who really brought us from point A to Z every session. We recap, we warm up, we rehearse, we talk about whatever questions need to be addressed as far as story, to remember what we've already done, because we also shoot out of order. So sometimes we've already shot the end and we're still doing the beginning, and we can't know that we're feeling that then. And so it's a lot. It's a big challenge. And I can see why it takes so long too. But it's really, I give credit to the writers and the animation artists. I mean, those guys bring what you see to life in a way that blows my mind. When I saw a finished product, I had tears in my eyes. I couldn't believe that all this work we've been doing for almost 2 years looked like that. It's just beautiful.
Do you feel, you sort of spoke earlier about when you were getting into acting, you were doing all sorts of different things. Do you feel that's helped now moving into the gaming and extra areas?
I do, because when I auditioned for this role, it was a very heavy scene. It was material written specifically for the audition because they didn't want to give away any storyline or any, from the real script. It was a very emotional and heavy scene. So you had to come in prepared like it is a role in a movie, and that's what I did. So I never thought about it as anything different. I don't compartmentalize and go, oh, this is this. Style-wise, you want to give it the right flavor and the right feel. But as far as, the caliber of work, you have to just bring your A game every time. So I felt that with Rio Morales. I really felt I had a connection to the character on the page. And that doesn't always happen with every audition.
And yes, Spider-Man has a strong focus on representation and particularly characters of color. How important was that for you when you assessed the role?
I didn't think about it in that moment. I really thought of us just, as people, the situation, the circumstances. I think it was later on in the shoot, and as things are coming out more publicly, that you realize, oh, diversity hasn't been a part of a lot of games. Diversity sometimes in a positive way, because, you've seen diversity in the fact that sometimes it's all the bad guys, or, in some of those games that are a little more violent, which I don't really audition for those just by choice. Some of those, like, I don't even know what they're called, but I can think of a title like Grand Theft Auto or things like that. Just like,
yep.
I like that this is diversity in representation of what the real world is like. That, there are moms and dads and heroes every day of every ethnicity in our society. So when I started to notice that that's where we were headed, that was really nice. It just felt good. There was a part of you that went to work and said, this is the real deal. We're not pretending here. And that was nice.
And as a mother yourself, is it exciting to have a game now that has that representation and has a strong female character that your kids can go and play? Yes. And my son is really young. He's 4. So when we've watched it or tried to get him to, he's like, Spider-Man! Like, he just cares about Miles Morales. And he's like, but there's Mom. He's like, oh yeah, Mom, but there's Spider-Man. So he's still super excited, but not about Mom, I think when he gets older, he's going to realize, oh, Mom, that's so cool that you were in that, But I think I was surprised by
how Rio Morales has been received. And it is by people of all ages. It's men and women. I'm really happy to see that Rio has inspired others to either see themselves and their family and me and Miles, or that they feel like, oh, if you're in that, we can be that too one day. Lots of, young actors have written messages or said, I'm an actor, I want to do that one day. It's nice to feel like you can inspire someone to make them feel like they can do it too.
Were there any people that you looked to for inspiration for the role?
I did not specifically focus on anyone, but I had just become a mom when I booked the role. And I think that for me was the catalyst. It was just, I think because it was for the first SpiderMan game with Peter Parker. And I think my baby was like 6 weeks old or something like that when I auditioned. So there was so much going on in me that I didn't know. And having a connection to a son really brought me to the role where I just didn't have to pull it from anywhere, but I had it all right in here, I think for me, that's what I've used in my journey. And of course, the situations of, losing your husband as the character when the dad dies, all those obstacles, you realize that we've all come across obstacles and ups and downs in life. No matter, where we're from and where we live, there's always going to be good and bad. So I draw from really my own experiences and my way of getting through things and pushing through and seeing my own family struggle through things. And my parents, one thing, it's like Miles and Rio is like, you don't give up. You keep going, you get through it, you find a way, and you come out the other side. So I just felt like that lives in me, and it was easier to bring that to Rio.
Yeah, I absolutely felt that sort of motherly feeling coming from the character. And like my mom's a single mom as well, so it definitely resonated with me.
Right. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we have to just, we got to do what we got to do, so let's go,
Are you hoping to reprise the role in future SpiderMan games?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, obviously, as an actor, you hope, you always go. It's kind of like with Bosh. When I first started my role on Bosh, I had no idea it was going to be more than 1 or 2 episodes. And then when they come, knocking on the door, calling you, for lack of a better term, then you're just like, yes, of course I want to come back. So if that opportunity ever existed, absolutely. If there was a future for Rio, I'd be more than happy to fill those shoes, because it's been a wonderful journey with Insomniac Games and also just the cast. And I'm really glad the fans like it. You never know how people are going to respond, So I was taken by surprise. I'm really pleased.
Are there any other dream roles that you would love to take on?
I would love to just do, film roles I would love to play, some just real badass attorney that takes on some big case and is, fighting for the little guy. That kind of motivation does live in me. I'm big into dog rescue. So in a role like if I was an attorney or some sort of, another extension of Rio, which is a politician in a film or a series, I look for those. I really, really like those. Being a mom is new to me, but I've realized even through playing Rio that there are so many, like mom roles you could play, or Erin Brockovich type roles, that would be something. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the outside of acting, the fierce advocacy for animals and particularly dogs. Where does that passion come from?
I just feel like the first time I grew up afraid of dogs, and long story short, when I worked in Australia, I was in a little town called Daylesford, outside of Melbourne, like an hour and a half. And there were these puppies that were born on the farm where we were shooting. And we used to ride horses in between rehearsals for the series I was on. It was called Ponderosa, which was like a prequel to Bonanza. And these puppies, I'd never held a puppy, seen a puppy. So they were like this tiny. And it was the first time that I was not afraid of dogs. But from Australia to the US, there's all these rules about bringing pets. And the people on the farm say, oh, you guys, if you guys want to take the dogs, we're not going to keep them all. We need homes. But there were too many, too much red tape for me to bring one. But as soon as I got back, I'm like, I need to get a dog. So that was sort of my introduction into wanting to, but I didn't know is that you get a dog, but there's like hundreds others that don't have homes and you can't adopt them all. So that was a little bit of what started the wheels turning in me, that once I was able to, not just monetarily, but time-wise and having space in my home to foster, that I just wanted to help, because I realized that we have a real problem with dog homelessness. But I started filming a documentary, and I've spent 4.5 years now on this project, which is, hopefully coming to light in 2021. So I'm excited and nervous and emotional about it. But, if we can make the difference in the lives of some pets and make it a snowball effect, maybe we can make a difference in the future for all pets that are homeless.
Awesome. I'll have to keep an eye out for the documentary.
Yes, it's called The Canine Condition. So, and it's a series, so we're hoping to, address it weekly, or I don't know if it'll be streamed. So, yeah.
Perfect. And then in terms of sort of personal recommendations, obviously you've had a bit of extra time at home recently. Are there any sort of games, movies, or TV shows that you've been watching and recommend?
Well, what have I seen recently? I mean, I watch a lot of documentaries. So it's just, and some of them are just dark, but I think I just got into them because of my own journey. I've seen crazy ones like The Vow. I mean, that was just like, I don't know if people are into like learning about cults, but wow, that was quite the journey. But I recently finished watching The Undoing with Nicole Kidman, and it was just this nice thriller. I knew that I wasn't going to be strung along for like episodes and episodes. So it was kind of nice to know that in, I think it was 6 or 7 episodes, I was going to know who did it. I really like kind of those mystery dramas. So The Undoing's a good one. And now I'm watching The Queen's Gambit. So I don't know any spoilers, but it's so good. So good. Yes.
Well, I watched that recently and loved
Oh, you
it.
did?
It's
Ooh,
awesome.
I can't wait. So yeah, we're not all the way through, but it's definitely at the top of the list right now.
Brilliant. And then finally, where is the best place for people to follow and support your work?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter under Jacqui Piñol. My last name is actually Piñol, but social media doesn't let you put the N, which has a little accent over the N. So it's Jacqui, JACQUI, PINOL, Jacqui Piñol on Instagram and Twitter. And then The Canine Condition is the word canine. We have a page now because we're going to get ready to launch some stuff in January. So
wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me, and good luck with everything in the new year, and have a nice Christmas and New Year.
Oh, you too, Jamie. Thank you so much. It's been so nice chatting with you. Enjoy Australia. I'm so jealous that you're there.
Thank you.
Take care.
The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine Jam Zine over on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the Jam publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Brian and June Hart, Courtney Paulson, Tracy Apps.